Hello and welcome to another Nikke video. The full skill kit for Leona has finally been released and I'm going to discuss it. Please leave a like and a sub and I hope you enjoyed the video. So here she is. This is Leona from the Happy Zoo crew. Her type is supporter, her weapon is a shotgun, her burst skill is 2, and her code is water. Skill 1 is called Thunderous Roar and it's a passive. Activates after 5 normal attacks, affects all allies. Roar, critical rate up 2.62%, stacks up to 5 times and lasts for 5 seconds. Activates after 15 normal attacks, affects all allies with a shotgun, maximum effective range up 20% for 10 seconds. Okay, looking at the first part of skill 1 here, since Leona has 9 ammo capacity, this is always going to be active with every reload, and upon having all the stacks, it's going to give 13.1% of crit rate up to the whole team. Alright, now looking at the second part of skill 1 here, where it shows maximum effective range, this is actually an entirely new mechanic. No other Nikke has this in the game, but in case you haven't noticed, depending on what weapon type the Nikke has is going to be more effective than others. Where there's 3 different ranges, it's close, mid, and far. And for shotguns, you have to be pretty close to be effective with them. You can still attack enemies that are far away with the shotgun. The only downside is if you do happen to attack an enemy that is far away, what's going to happen is the maximum damage per pellet is actually going to be reduced significantly. And only that, it's actually going to be harder to hit every single pellet because depending on what rapture it is, like if it's a tiny rapture that you try to hit far away, you're going to miss a lot of the pellets. Something like a boss rapture, like example Mother Whale, that's going to be extremely easy to hit with the shotgun. But even if you actually land all the pellets, unfortunately, since it's past the effective range, you're actually going to get reduced damage per pellet. So look like it's going to go ahead and add 20% there. So it's going to make the shotguns a little bit more effective, even at the mid range. But of course, the bread and butter is going to be close range. And also in order to land the 15 shots, since she only has 9 ammo, you pretty much got to reload 1 time. It's going to be very, very close to 15 seconds in order to go ahead and activate this second part of skill 1. But luckily, it's just normal attacks and not attacks landed. So as long as you just shoot an attack, it's going to count towards that activation limit. Now, looking at skill 2 called Courageous Look, and it's also a passive. Activates when entering full burst, affects all allies. Hit rate up 20.28% for 10 seconds. Activates when entering full burst, affects 2 ally units with the highest attack and a shotgun. Increases number of pellets by 5 for 10 seconds. Alright, now looking at the first part of skill 2, with any units barring sniper rifle and rocket launchers, hit rate will actually help them significantly. How it works with shotguns is that on the shooting reticle, there's actually this gray circle that's around the reticle. The higher hit rate a Nikke has, the more smaller the circle gets. I believe it's around 50% hit rate in order for the gray circle to go inside the reticle. The reason why you want to go ahead and have the gray circle as small as possible, because pretty much wherever the gray is, that's where the pellets have a possibility to land. So by making it smaller, the pellets have no choice but to go into that very, very small circle. So that 20% is going to provide a damage boost to not only shotgun units, but for any other weapon type except for sniper rifle and rocket launcher like you just mentioned. Okay, now looking at the second part of skill 2, this is actually totally new as well to Nikke. We have no other Nikke in the game that actually increases the number of pellets to a Nikke, let alone to others in the team. Since I don't know the exact amount, I mean, I did some testing for the number of pellets. I would be noticing I would be getting around 10. Sometimes I get a little less, but a majority of the time I would be getting around 10 pellets. So if that number stays true, then you'd be looking at 15 pellets at most. But I also do want to mention this as well, since the Nikke official Twitter actually explained a little bit more about the pellet mechanic here. I'll go ahead and read it now. It says pellets, the number of bullets that can be fired simultaneously. Even if the number of pellets increases, the total damage per shot remains the same. Okay, so there's a few ways you can read this. One of those ways you can read this is that each ammo shot pretty much has a maximum amount of damage it's able to deal. And every time you shoot, your total maximum damage gets divided by the number of pellets. So if it does increase by 5 pellets, let's say it was 10 pellets maximum. So now instead of that number being divided by 10, it's not going to be divided by 15. Or the other way that I could also read it as well is that each pellet does the same amount of damage. Of course, we're going to have to wait for this to be officially out to fully test it and see how this actually works. But also want to mention this as well, is that for each pellet has a chance to actually crit. And not only does it have a chance to actually crit, it also has a chance to hit the core as well. And on top of that, adding more hit rate so that we can funnel the shots in a more concentrated area, that's at least going to give you a higher chance to do even more damage. Of course, time is going to tell on how this mechanic actually works. Lastly, her burst skill, Lionheart, is a 20-second cooldown. It affects all allies, critical damage up 34.64% for 10 seconds. Activates when the caster's roar is fully stacked, affects all allies with a shotgun. Crit rate up 21.32%, for 10 seconds. Alright, looking at the first part of the burst skill, that is very significant critical damage being added to the whole team. Depending on how you have your team set up, it's very possible to get that critical damage even higher than you see there. And once you add the overloaded slots, yeah, you could get that number pretty high. And looking at the second part of the burst skill, this is really gonna only affect shotgun units. And also as well, how I mentioned earlier with skill 1, unfortunately, it takes like about 15 seconds. And just at Leona's base, since she only has a 9 ammo capacity, it's gonna take quite a few reloads in order to get fully stacked up. So unfortunately, the second part of the burst is not going to happen when she first bursts. If you do happen to put her as a burst 2 there, it's not going to be till the second or third burst where you're actually going to see the crit rate of the shotguns go up. So please keep that in mind. And on top of that, if you manage to get all the stacks on Roar with the crit rate up, you're looking at 34.42% of crit rate up. This is a very generous crit rate up. On top of the critical damage you're receiving with the burst, you will be doing a lot of critical damage thanks to the shotgun having so many pellets. Each shot's going to have a more significant chance to crit rate and provide that additional damage to the whole team. Now, for my final thoughts. Looking at Leona's kit, she's going to be a very excellent support unit for the shotgun Nikkes. And luckily, there are a lot of shotgun Nikkes in the game. For example, there's Anise, Drake, Sugar, Polly, Pepper, Guilty, Isabella, Marciana, Naga, Noir. For example, a few of them, I will go ahead and welcome Leona's kit with full arms open. And of course, there are other Nikkes that are not shotgun units that will actually benefit the shotgun team no problem. For example, Tove is one of those. Tove's kit provides an exceptional boost to any shotgun unit, providing crit rate, attack speed, crit damage, attack up, ammo refill. Tove on paper seems like an excellent candidate for the shotgun teams. Unfortunately, how Tove kits work is that you have to make sure she has all of her stacks going at all times. Unfortunately, it's a percentage of each shot that has a chance to activate those buffs, where it's completely possible to go ahead and not get any buffs within a whole reload. Looking at the shotgun units, Noir would be a huge benefit for Leona, since it would actually increase her ammo count and actually reload some of her ammo, which would allow her to achieve stacks more easily. Not only that, Sugar would also be an excellent option, since she provides max ammo up around 80% when she gets to level 10 to the whole team as well. So that's significantly going to help Leona. And let's not forget about Summer Anise. I mean, she's already an excellent unit just by herself, but adding even more crit rate, crit damage, hit rate, pellet up, and even the maximum effective range is going to make her even more deadlier than she's already is. Of course, depending on what units you're going to put on the team, obviously you don't want to use some units with other units, but those are some of the options I can think on top of my head there. And just in case you want to use this unit without any shotgun units, you can actually do so. Unfortunately, the effectiveness of Leona is going to be reduced drastically by half, since every skill that Leona has something that benefits a shotgun. Obviously, you're going to want to use a shotgun unit, but if not, if we're just going to look at what she's able to provide just to people that do not have shotguns, you'll be looking at about 13.1% crit rate, hit rate going at 20.28%, and the crit damage going 34.64% there. So she would be able to provide support to other units as well, but it's very obvious that you're going to want shotgun units with Leona to maximize her benefit and damage to the team. Alright, now, if you should pull for her or not, that's entirely going to depend if you actually use shotgun units or not. The very popular shotgun units that you almost always see in every game mode would be something like Summer Anise, Noir, Naga. Those three you always see in almost every game mode. There are other shotgun units that you actually do see from time to time depending on what game mode it is. For example, Pepper, Drake, Guilty, Polly, Sugar, Marciana. You see them every now and then, but you see more of the top 3 than anything else. On top of having Leona on the team, since pretty much thanks to the second part of skill 2 there, I'm assuming it only does 2 ally units, so it does not apply to Leona plus 2 ally units. That's the way that I'm reading it. So based on that, you really only need 1 other shotgun unit on the team. Of course, there's a lot of good burst 2 units that people use for different game modes. And at this very moment, I don't know if Leona is actually worthy of taking one of those spots. And of course, only testing and time will tell. And since I'm a collector, I'm going to go ahead and at least do a few pulls on this unit. Even though she does provide some really good support for shotgun units, as of right now, I do not know if she's actually a must pull. If you're still on the fence, I would highly recommend you wait for other people to do testing and give their thoughts on them. And from there to go ahead and make your own decision if you should pull on this unit or not. But I do want you to keep in mind that this unit is not a limited unit. She's going to be part of the regular pull. She's going to be part of the molds, all that stuff. So do not worry about missing on this Nikke. She's going to be ever present in the game and recruitable at any point. Of course, this is going to be your best chance to actually pull the unit since she's going to be there at 2%. But if you're on the fence about pulling this unit, I would do the wait and see approach. Alright, that's about it. I really love how Leona looks, and plus Timmy is a very lovable lion. Her kit does show great promise, but of course, how I just already mentioned earlier, we really have to do testing to make sure how everything works, since currently we do have to measure how effective the maximum effective range is, and only that fully understanding the pellet by 5 mechanic as well. And now, I would like to know your thoughts. Are you actually going to go and pull in this unit, or are you just going to go ahead and wait and see what everyone else says? Do you use a lot of shotgun units on your team? Is Timmy the lion the best animal in the arc? Please, I would really like to know. Alright, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate a thumbs up and a sub. That would really mean a lot to me. I'm Scrublord, and I'll see you on the next one.